Everywhere I go, people want to ask me about Candid Camera. They want to tell me their favorite episode. They want to share with me the feelings that they had about my father and the show. And it is a beautiful experience, but it is also confusing because the level of passion that they show about that show always seems a little bit high to me. Even though the show was brilliant, it always seems like there's some other ingredient going on there. And then finally, I figured it out. See, it's not just that people miss the show. It's that they miss the time. That time in their own lives that show is connected to for them. That time when Sunday nights was popping a big bowl of popcorn and everybody cuddled in laps and laughing and no one was texting. You know, that is what they miss. And so it's important to keep that in mind because today we are here to talk about our time. A time when the #1 lifestyle complaint in America is having too much to do with too little time. We are go, 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 go all the time. Men tend to relieve stress best through sex and exercise. Women tend to relieve stress best through talking and more talking. So let's do one at a time here. Gentlemen, the very first stop on your stress management journey is to ask yourself the simple question, am I getting enough sex and exercise? If the answer is no, I can promise you, you're really gonna like half your homework. And then we get to us girls. See, here's the problem. Talking and talking and talking. We need more talking. The question is, are you getting enough talking? You see, and as I say those words, every man in the room will have a little teeny tiny cardiac event. You see, because an inference is being made that I'm going to teach you to talk even more than you already talk. But you see, no, but you have to understand it's not the kind of talking that you think. Your assignment, girls, in the next 1 week, I would like you to find a wonderful girlfriend with whom you can drain the well. Drain the well. And this is such an important technique that I'm actually going to model it for you right now. I'm going to call Maureen. I'm going to say, Maureen, can I vent? And Maureen, being a woman, will say, you bet you can. And I will say, Maureen, blah, 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 blah. And Maureen will say, uh-huh. I will say, Maureen, blah, 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 blah. And Maureen will say, amen. I will say, Maureen, blah, 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 blah. And Maureen is not going to be sitting there waiting for anything annoying like a point. Because there is never a point, you see. She will just hear me, she will hear me, and I will talk and 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 talk, and finally the well will be empty, and I will go to the man in my life, and I will say, hello, I have nothing to say to you. The brave ones clap, the others are worried they'll get in trouble if they clap. First of all, we start with the assumption that 85 to 90% of everything that you do at work and at home is absolutely necessary. For you guys at work, it may be more like 95%. Is absolutely necessary. You don't have a choice about it. But what we find is that if we begin having a habit of mindfully scanning over and over, we will find little tiny things that are eating up our white space, and those things we can choose to say no to. When you have a break, instead of just sort of meandering through it and wasting the time, stop and say to yourself, this is my white space. Yes, do what you need to do. Yes, sneak into the utility closet and eat a sandwich, you know, do what you need to do. But a couple minutes of just slowing down. Anything you have to wait for, just take 1 second of that forced waiting to realize you have been blissfully forced into white space, and this is a good thing. This is a true story. We're on the flight for about 20 minutes, where a young man in the back of the plane stands up and takes out a really big knife. He put it up to the throat of one of the stewardesses and he walked her straight up the aisle and into the cockpit. And a moment later, the pilot came on and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you are looking forward to going to Miami, but we are being hijacked. And we're headed now for Havana." I was only a baby at this time, but I've heard this story so many times, and I can't imagine what they must have been feeling. They were just sitting there frozen, paralyzed. Except for this one gal in the way back who kept going like this. At my father. And all of a sudden, with great inappropriate glee, she stood up, she popped off her seatbelt, and she said, "Oh my gosh! We're not being hijacked, we're on candid camera!" And everybody believed her. And everybody believed her. The stewardesses are popping champagne from first class. People are taking their air sickness bags. They're lining up to get autographs from my father. My father was on his knees begging, saying, "Please, we would never do a stunt like this. It's not a stunt." And nobody will believe him. They are laughing. They are dancing. They are hanging off the overhead compartments. It was like a low-budget in-flight Cirque du Soleil. Just everybody having a great time, except, I would imagine, for the professional hijacker who's still in the cockpit. And in all of this craziness, I mean, I can't imagine what he thought. He just opened the door and stood there staring at these happy people. And they gave him a standing ovation. So when we got to Cuba, they caught the guy, they sent us home, all was well. And here's the point. When you get a group of people in a trance, it's hard to break. And your busy, more friends are in a trance. The question of the day is, are you? I was speaking to a group in St. Louis called the United Soybean Board, and a woman told me a story. She said that when she was little, her daddy came to her in the kitchen, and he said, "Honey, let's go get Mama and go for an old-fashioned joy ride in the country." And they went to the Mama and proposed the idea. And she said, "I'm sorry, I'm too busy." And the daddy and the daughter went in the car, had a wonderful time, and he died 2 days later. And she said that her mother talked about that for the rest of her life, missing that ride. So when I first heard this story, my first thought was, wow, that's powerful, but it's too bad. I probably will not share that ever in a program, because I really don't like to bring in things that are too sad. And then 2 weeks later, I was sitting at our kitchen table. My husband is in the backyard with our 2-year-old and 4-year-old boys. The babies are both naked. They each have a hose and they're washing the car. And he sends me a text message. The message says, "Pretty cute out here if you've got a moment." And I sent back a text that said, "Sorry, busy." And I started to go back to my work, and that story just came like up my spine, and I actually knocked the chair over that I was sitting in, dashing out there to make sure that I didn't miss it. The reason I want you to have some open space, some open, unscheduled, improvisational time, even in a world that's going to tell you to pack it all in, is that when the ride comes to your door, I don't want you to miss it. CCPP is a set of attributes that everyone around you is just starving for. If you can personify these attributes, you will be an oasis. It stands for calm, confident, patient, and present. If you can be calm, confident, patient, and present in the frenzy, what a beautiful gift. And this, my darling control freak friends, needs to be your new mantra. When you go home after an exhausting and heartfelt shift and you notice that someone has loaded the dishwasher with everything facing away from the spray, you do not touch it. You do not touch it. You do it for me. You say inside your head, nobody died. There's like a whole bunch of guys in the middle going, there's a spray in the dishwasher? I was wondering how. Another one for you guys, I like to call watch the end of the movie, and this is the most important one for you because when you see the beauty in what you do, it is a magical stress management tool. Watch the end of the movie means this. When you see something wonderful happen, when a resuscitation works, when an asthmatic kid takes a big deep breath, don't just enjoy that moment. Take the fun and the time to watch the other scenes of the movie. Imagine them walking out and going home, and then there's the homecoming with a cake and hugging, and people are happy and grateful. Imagine them then going to their place of contribution where they make a difference, and imagine them all back in their lives with your beautiful, loving fingerprints on them, and really get that that's what you did.